Hi guys, Andy Moosall here with Fresh Source Farms and FarmFlow. Welcome to FarmFlow. This is definitely the last microgreen software you're ever going to need, and my goal here is to walk you through the initial setup. There's a lot you can do in the software, so I want to make sure it's kind of organized for you to get you started quickly. So let's get into it.
So when you first log into FarmFlow, you're going to be brought to the Getting Started guide. This has a list of everything that you can do in the system with quick, easy links and short descriptions of each item. Some things will show up as checked off because obviously you already have a profile, but you can certainly update it anytime you'd like. So there's a bunch of different things in this list. It looks like a lot, and it is a lot because it does a lot of really cool things. But the goal of this is just to get you started, get you on track, get you set up initially so that way you can use it right away. So when you first come in, you're going to see it's going to be probably 17% or so that's going to say you have complete. You can go through every single one of these items individually, that's fine. But I'm just going to go through the basics that you need to get done to get started and get set up.
So the first thing we're going to do is go through some user profile options, including updating your profile and updating your preferences in FarmFlow.
So the very first thing we're going to do is actually update our profile. So when you first sign up, all you have to do is provide first name, last name, and email. So we're just going to go down to Profile and Preferences and click on Update Profile. And this will load your profile screen. So you'll see, in my case, I just have my first name and last name and my email address filled in, and everything else is left blank. So you're welcome to fill out as much as this as you'd like. If you have a company name, you're welcome to put it in there, your address information as well, your country, your phone number. It's whatever you decide you want to do. And then once you're finished, you can just click Save in the bottom right. So the next step we're going to do is actually update our preferences. In order to do that, you just go down to Profile and Preferences again and click on Update Preferences. And this will take you to a page where most of the information is already filled out, as you can see. This is as a brand new user. You have your financial goals, which is how much money you'd like to make per year. So you can change that to whatever you'd like. Your temperature units, you can choose Fahrenheit, Celsius, or Kelvin. Seed weight units, you can choose grams or ounces. And what that's going to be is when you're weighing out seed, like as far as how much seed you use per tray, this is where you would actually choose the units that you prefer. Harvest and packaging weights can be different, so you have the option to choose grams, ounces, kilograms, or pounds. And what this does is it sets the weight units for when you're harvesting. So when you sell packaging, do you sell it by the ounce or do you sell it by grams or something else that's along those lines? You can choose one of those. And then you also have heavyweight units, which is pounds or kilograms. So this is kind of like how much does a bag of seed weigh? How much does the total amount of all of the harvest weights combined come out to be? So it's going to be kind of a bigger weight. So you have the option to choose pounds or kilograms for that. Currency, at the moment we have dollars, the US dollar, euros, lira, pounds, ruble, rupee, shekel, won, and yen as an option. So you can select whatever applies to you. This doesn't do any conversion. The weight units actually do some conversion in the background, so it actually is pretty cool how that works. But the dollar sign just basically shows up in front of anything that you have a price on. Then you can choose the date format and all these different varieties here. So however you want your dates to appear, you can choose how they're going to look. So MM stands for month, DD stands for day, and all the Y's stand for the year. So it's whatever format you choose. You can choose the light theme or the dark theme. So by default, it sets it to the light theme. You can also update that by clicking on this icon in the top left here, and you'll see it automatically switches the theme. Or you can come in here to your preferences and save it that way as well. Do you want to harvest on the same day that your customers receive their orders? So if you're harvesting and delivering or they're picking up on the same day, then you can leave this set to yes. If you're harvesting the day before, like we do, you can actually say, no, we harvest one day before. And then basically we harvest all day and then people pick up or we deliver to them the following day. This is important to select the right one because it actually determines how things show up in some of the things that we'll cover later. So we also have warn me when I have this many weeks of seed left. So when we get to the point where we're actually adding in seeds, you'll see that it keeps track of how many weeks of seed you actually have remaining. So this will basically give you a warning if you're less than or equal to this number of weeks of seed remaining in the system. So basically what it does is that it actually does the calculation, determines roughly how many weeks of seed it thinks you have left, and if it's less than that number that you specify here, it'll give you an alert, and it'll actually show up on this menu next to seeds, and it'll also show up when you go to the seeds page as a little pop-up error. So next thing is harvest weight buffer. This is basically when you're planting, it's doing calculations based on your harvest weights that you enter as you go through the process. This is kind of creating a little bit of a buffer just in case. So if you have any dead loss or any kind of mold issues or any kind of dampening off or things along those lines, you can kind of add a little bit of a buffer, so it'll make you plant extra, essentially, just a little bit extra. We actually have ours set to 15%, so that way we're always planting 15% more than we actually need, just in case we run into any problems, or if it's a cold week or a hot week or something, and the plants decide to grow a little less. We don't want to take that chance of missing out on some customer orders, so we just keep that at 15%. Showing the getting started guide, we have this set to yes by default. That's just going to show this option in the left-hand menu here. So you can turn that off after you go through everything, so that way it won't show up anymore. You're welcome to do that. Scramble names for demoing the software. So if you were showing this to a friend or to somebody that you wanted to try and get into using FarmFlow, you can set this to yes, and it will actually scramble all the names of all your customers, all their addresses, all their emails, everything. So you can demo the software without giving away any personal information. This last piece here is optional. It's called Share Anonymous Data. This allows you to share what your financials are, and it's really just what your goals are. So, what percentage of the way are you towards your goal? It doesn't necessarily show you and your actual amount you make. It's just something that you can use to compare to other folks in the future. And then harvest weights as well. So, you can share harvest weights that you're actually getting. Again, they're all anonymously shared. You can share planting methods as well. So, for example, if I'm a new grower, I could go in and look into the Explore section down here, which will eventually have a lot more of this kind of information shown up. And I can see, what the average harvest weights are for folks, or I can see what somebody's planting method is that's getting, more weight out of their trays than I am. So it's just a cool way to be able to share information inside of the community of FarmFlow. So obviously, once you make all your changes on this page, you would just hit save, and that saves your preferences to the system.
Okay, now that we're done setting up your user profile and your preferences, let's get into creating some products.
All right, so now we're going to go ahead and create a product category. So in order to do that, we just go to products and we go to product categories. And by default, we actually put microgreens in there as a category because we assume that's what most folks are going to be doing. But if you wanted to do edible flowers or mushrooms or something along those lines, you can simply add a new category by clicking this button here. And all you have to do on this form for the create product category is to just fill in whatever the name of your category is. So let's just do edible flowers for this one. And if you want to put in a description, you can. It doesn't really matter if you do or not. This is just for your own internal use if you decide to. And then you're just going to hit save. So now you can see that the new category I just created called edible flowers shows up on my product categories page. So now that we've created a product category, we're now able to create a product. So we're going to go down to product mixes and pricing and click on products. And we can click on add new product, and that will bring us to the create product form. So the very first thing we're going to do is pick from the plant species, which is a drop-down list of a lot of different species that we already have pre-entered into the system. And you can choose other. So if you see something that's not in this list, you're welcome to choose other and create a different product. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and create broccoli. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top, choose broccoli. And this allows you to name it whatever you'd like. So you can call it broccoli Watham 29. You can call it Watham 29 broccoli. You can call it broccoli. You can call it whatever you'd like. So this is just kind of an external way of naming your product. And this is what will actually appear all throughout FarmFlow as you're navigating your own products. So I'm just going to call it broccoli. I know it seems kind of weird to have broccoli and broccoli, but this is how we actually help people inside of FarmFlow determine what's popular in the community and things like that to help them explore additional plants. And this is kind of what this is for here. So like it says, for community purposes. So product category, we're going to go ahead and choose microgreens. And can a customer subscribe to this item? In our case, we're going to allow them to do that. So yes. Pre-soak time, you can enter in an amount of time. If you soak your broccoli seed, I wouldn't recommend that. So in this case, we're just going to put in 0. Start soaking. If we were soaking, you could choose to say on the same day as you're planting or the day before planting. So if you have like a 12-hour or 24-hour soak that you do and you prefer to soak it overnight, you can choose that option as well. And then the seeding amount is, in our case, I think we do 22 grams. So we're just going to put that in. Germination time. In our case, we let it sit under weight for 3 days. Blackout, if you choose one day of blackout, you're welcome to do that. We don't actually black out our broccoli, so I'm going to put in 0. And our harvest time for broccoli is 10 days total. So that's your germination time plus your blackout time plus your actual light, time in the light. So it's a total of 10 days in this case from planting to harvesting. And since we're setting up broccoli for the first time, we're going to enter in our average harvest weight. This is only going to get used until you actually start entering and harvest weights through the system. So we'll get into that later on. So average harvest weight in ounces in this case, because that's what we have set for our preferences. I think we get about 10-ish ounces out of broccoli. So I'm going to put that in. And then we can enter in notes. So if there's specific things you need to know about this product, like different planting methods or something weird that you want to make sure is entered in there, you can put that in as well. And then we get down below. So you can either hit save here or you can actually continue down and check out the planting details as well. So in this case, waited during germination, you can choose yes or no. We do wait hours during germination, so I'm going to leave that as yes. Do we use a heat mat during germination? You have yes or no. In this case, no. Do we spray with H2O2 when planting? We don't spray anything with H2O2 when planting, but we give you that option to select that. So we're going to leave that as no. Do you plant it in a deep tray? So you have the deep trays or the shallow tray options from Bootstrap Farmer and other companies like that. So we don't plant broccoli in a deep tray, but if you do, then you can select yes. Do you bury the seeds when planting? You have that option to do that as well. So like bull's blood beets, cilantro, things like that you would typically bury. Broccoli, obviously we don't, so we're going to leave that as no. Do we move it directly into blackout after planting, which means it would go basically under a lid right away. So there'd be no weighted germination. So we definitely wait our broccoli during germination, so I'm going to leave that as no. But arugula, on the other hand, when we plant arugula, we put it right into a blackout lid. It never gets weighted, so that's an option as well. So you can select yes or no there. Or move directly into the light after planting. So like basil or celery, things that we basically put right into the light and put a humidity dome on, we can choose yes or no for that. Broccoli, we don't move right into the light, so we're going to leave it as no. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And you'll see now that our product is listed as broccoli under the category of microgreens on our products page.
Okay, now that we're done creating our products, let's add some seeds into FarmFlow.
And you'll see now that our percentage of getting completed is at 20% now, so we went up a little bit from adding the products. So we created our product category, we've created our product, so now we just need to create our pricing. So in order to do that, we can go to products, mixing, and pricing, and go to pricing. And you can see it has broccoli listed down below here, telling me my average yield is 10 ounces, which is what we entered into the system initially. And I can either hit add price here, which will select broccoli by default, or I can click add new product price up here and select broccoli from the dropdown. In this case, it's basically going to do the same thing because I only have one product, but later on when you add more products, it's a lot easier just to add it from the product list itself. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add price from here. So it's got broccoli pre-selected automatically. I'm going to put in my price. So let's say I said $6 for 2 ounces. I can hit save. And now my price actually shows up. So there's my $6 for 2 ounces. If I wanted to add another one, hit add price again. Let's say I did $11 for 4 ounces. Hit save. And there you go. So we have our two prices here, and we can edit them by clicking on this button, or we can delete them by clicking on this button. So if I added this one by accident, I can delete it, or if I want to change it, let's say I upped my price to $12, I can change that to 12, hit save, and it says it's updated successfully. If I go back to product pricing, now shows up as $12 for 4 ounces. And what's really neat is you also have this desired price per tray on the product pricing page. So if I wanted to get, let's say, $20 a tray, I can enter in $20. I can hit submit, and it's going to tell me either with a green up arrow or a red down arrow if my pricing is set high enough in order to get the amount of trays that, or amount of money that I want per tray. So in this case, it's telling me all I need to do is charge $4. My price is good. All I need to do is charge $8. My price is good. So I know my pricing is good enough to meet $20 per tray, and that's based on your average yield. So as you're entering this information over time, your average yield is going to go up and down as you're entering in harvest weights. So this may change, but you always have that option to come back here. And if you had more than one product in here, this would actually show up for all the different products that you had as well. So, all right, back to the getting started guide again. You can see now we're at 22%, which is awesome. We're getting there slowly but surely. So now what we're going to do is get into creating seeds. The first thing we need to do is actually set up a seed supplier. We're going to go to seeds and mediums and then to seed suppliers. Now we automatically put in Greener Harvest seeds by default. You can delete them if you choose to. That's just our favorite seed company here in the United States. But if you need to add your own seed supplier, you can click add new seed supplier. And then you can enter in the name of the seed supplier, and then you can enter in the address information for that seed supplier, the email address if you have one, the URL to their website, any notes about that seed supplier, like the average delivery time or things of that nature. You can put that information in, and then you would just hit save once you're done. And then that would automatically add it to your seed supplier list. So now that we have seed suppliers entered into the system, we're going to go ahead to seeds and mediums and go to seeds to add some seeds. So from the seeds page, you have the option to shop Greener Harvest seeds right from here, which will take you right to their website, or you can just do add new seeds. I'm going to add a new seed. Okay, now we're on the form to actually add seed into FarmFlow. This is assuming you have bags of seed or containers of seed already in stock. So basically all you'd have to do is just enter in your seed manufacturer. And as you can see, it says it's not always the company that you bought the seeds from. Sometimes you'll get seed from a seed company that actually has a different company's name listed on it as the actual seed provider, the manufacturer, whatever you want to call them. So you can put that in if you want to. If you don't have that information or don't feel like figuring it out, you can just enter in the name of the company that you actually bought the seed from. That's totally fine. So in this case, we're just going to use Greener Harvest Seeds, and then we're going to select our product list. In this case, we just have our one product, broccoli, that we created earlier. So we're going to select broccoli, and then you have the option to choose, is it organic, yes or no? We're going to say yes. Obviously, we're just creating an example here. And this is the total cost that it costs you to buy this bag of seed, including shipping. So keep that in mind. So let's say we paid $125 for a 25-pound bag of seeds. That's what we're going to add as a mock seed entry here. So our seed supplier is going to be Greener Harvest Seeds, because that's the one we have in our seed supplier list. The amount that we bought is 25 pounds, and the remaining amount that we have is 25 pounds. It's a brand new bag. Now, if you're adding a bag that you already opened, weigh it out, and you can put in how many pounds you actually have left. So let's say we already had a broccoli seed bag that we already opened from Greener Harvest. We're going to set this to 15 pounds because we only have 15 pounds out of the original 25 pounds that we bought. So you can enter it in that way as well. So don't worry about if you already have something already opened. It's no problem. Then you want to put in the lot number. This is super important. So I'm just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for now. But this helps track the seed back to the actual seed supplier just in case. So if you have like a sickness or a recall or something like that, it's very important to have this lot number in there. Last thing you can do is if you want to enter in any notes related to this actual seed, you're welcome to do that as well. It's just an open field. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. So then we're just going to go ahead and hit save. And now our seeds actually show up in the list. So what this is going to do, gives you a lot of information on this page. So it tells you the supplier, your lot number, and it also says future lot here. And the reason why it says that is because we actually haven't planted any plants yet with this seed tied to them. So at this point it thinks it's an unopened bag. Uh, so once we start actually entering in plantings into the system, you'll see this will change to be the current lot is what it'll say. So if you have multiple bags of seed, one that's unopened and one that you're using for planting, and you've already entered in plants for that specific seed, you'll see one will say future lot and another one will be listed underneath or above it that says current lot. So this tells you what your cost is. In this case, we paid $125, which is averaging out to about 1 penny per gram. And it tells you we're using 22 grams of seed per tray. So this particular seed lot is costing us 24 cents per tray. And obviously we can edit that seed if we go to here, or we can delete that seed as well. Once you've started planting with this seed lot, the delete option will go away because it has to be able to keep record of that seed lot tied to those plantings. So just keep that in mind. And the cool thing is, as you start adding plantings to the system, it'll start automatically calculating this information for you. So you have planted per week, which will be an average number based on how many you plant per week as you get into that point. And it'll tell you you've got, in this case, 309 plantings left based on the amount of weight that we have and the fact that we're using 22 grams per tray. The last piece of information it will give you is your weeks left, which in this case says NA because we haven't planted anything yet. But if you have your average number that you're planting per week, it'll actually tell you roughly how many weeks you have left. So if you remember when we set up our preferences for 12 weeks or less to warn us that we're running out of seed, this is where this actually comes into play. So that's the seeds page as a whole. Let's move on to the next step.
Okay, now that we're done creating our seeds, let's start adding some customers and some orders for those customers.
All right, so now we're up to 25% on our getting started guide here because we just added in our new seeds and our seed suppliers. So let's get into creating customers and orders. So to get started, we're going to go to the customers and orders drop down list. So we're going to choose customers. And we're going to go ahead and create a new customer by clicking on add new customer. This will bring up the customer details form. So in this case, we can put in the company name of the customer. So if it's a grocery store or a restaurant or a food distributor or a cafe or a golf course or whatever, you can put in the name. Then you put in the main contact that you have at that location. If this is just a regular customer, you can just put in their regular contact info. So first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, country, phone, email. I'll go ahead and create a customer offline here so you don't have to watch me do that, but you get the idea. So just fill this form out as best you can and hit save. Okay, so I've created my first successful customer. His name in this case is John Doe, and he works for John Doe Inc. It's going to show his phone number and his email address as well. You can edit his listing or you can delete him as a customer if you choose to do so. And it shows him here as inactive. And what that means is basically he doesn't have any recurring order tied to his account yet. That's the next thing we're going to do in this process. And you'll see this will actually change to active after you add a recurring order to this customer. So next on the list is we're going to go ahead and set up a recurring order for our customer John Doe. So we're going to go to Customers and Orders and select Recurring Orders. And we'll click Add New Recurring Order. So what this does is we're actually going to set up a recurring order, which means it's either going to be weekly or bi-weekly or tri-weekly or monthly automatically. So this will work out really well when you're actually planting things. It'll help schedule everything that needs to be done. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and select our customer, John Doe. We're going to choose whether they're pickup or delivery. So in this case, we'll just choose delivery because we're going to bring it right to John Doe's house. The status, this allows you to actually set them as active, meaning that it's an active subscription that's going on. You can set them to postpone. So if somebody goes out of town for 3 months or something like that, you can postpone their account, but it'll keep their entire subscription set up. Or if they've canceled completely and you know they're never going to want to come back, then you can go ahead and change them to canceled. So in this case, we're going to leave it as active, which is the default. If you had pickup locations, which you can set up underneath of customer orders and pickup locations, which is a totally separate topic I'm not going to get into in this video. But you can actually set up different pickup locations. So if you chose pickup here, you can actually choose a pickup location, and that'll assign that to that customer as to where they're going to pick their order up. And then this is for discount percentage. So for example, my broccoli I had $6 for 2 ounces, right? If I wanted to give them 50% off for some reason, let's say it was a family member, I can put in 50% and it'll actually uh, set them up to only count as $3 instead of $6 when it's actually calculating all of your financial goal stuff. And then if you have any instructions for the particular order, like it has to be dropped on the back door or put on the front porch or something like that, you can put those kinds of things in here as well. And then we'll just go ahead and hit save. And then what it's going to do once you save is it's actually going to take you to the recurring order product details form. So now we're adding products to their actual subscription. So we can do these in a variety of different ways. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and say select a product price. We're going to get them a $6 2 ounce broccoli. They're going to do that weekly. You have the option to choose weekly, bi-weekly, tri-weekly, or monthly. So we'll set that up that they're going to get that every week. They're going to get 3. And we can choose a start date. So in this case, we'll just choose them to start on Saturday. And you don't have to choose an end date, but if for whatever reason you had like a 4-month deal or a 3-month deal or a 6-month deal, you can set that up. If you leave this as is, there will be no end date. So it'll just be an open-ended recurring order. So I would suggest that unless you actually have an end date. So, but if you do, you can choose one and it'll automatically turn off that subscription when the time comes. So price tag, this is great if you're selling to grocery stores and they have their own specific price tag that needs to go on their product. You can put in, like say $4.99, right? For our $6 pack that we would normally sell for 6, that we would put a $6 price tag on. This will give you an indicator when you're actually going through the harvest process that it needs to be on a $4.99 price tag. Cut short, this is good for chefs that require shorter stems. So if you have a chef that loves to cut things really short, you can set that to yes. By default, it's set to no. And then if you do choose yes, it would definitely be a good idea to select a buffer override. So basically what this is going to do, let's say we were cutting them roughly 50% in height, right? You can choose select a percentage and we can have it add 50% to the amount that we actually need to plant. So, for example, if we were doing broccoli, which we've been using this whole time, we're getting roughly 10 ounces per tray. But if we cut it in half, we're going to get roughly 5 ounces per tray, which means we're going to have to plant twice as many trays in order to meet this one particular order. So this comes in really handy for that specific thing. So that's just another option that you can use to make sure you're planting enough to meet all the order's needs. So we're going to go ahead and set these back to no and select a percentage because we don't need that. So that's our entire order there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And that's going to bring us back to the recurring order products page for John Doe. And you'll see now I have broccoli there for $6 for the 2 ounce weekly starting on January 13th, and the quantity is 3. If I say, oops, I meant to add 2, I can change that really quickly here. Updates the order. You'll see you get the little notification at the top. So it's really easy to make quick edits to their orders. And if I want to add another recurring order product to this, I can set it up really easily. So let's say he wanted to get 4 ounces every 2 weeks. And we're going to give him 1. And we're going to set it up to start on the 20th. And everything else will leave the same. Hit save. So now he's got broccoli, 4-ounce broccoli he's going to get every 2 weeks starting on the 20th, and a 2-ounce broccoli he's going to get every week on the 13th. I'm sorry, two 2-ounce broccolis every week on the 13th. So you can set up multiple different levels. So if you have one customer that says, you know what, I want to get something different every other week, you can easily do that through one single order and have that set up to allow for that. So same thing, you can change these anytime you need. So if I want to change this to 10 or whatever, you can do that. And then you can still edit those the traditional way as well, or you can delete them also. So now we've got our orders in the system. Let's move on to the next step. All right, as you can see, we're now at 35% in our getting started guide. The next step we're going to do, and this is optional, is to go into one-time orders. So what a one-time order is basically somebody placing an order for one specific day. So it's one-time pickup, a one-time delivery, something along those lines. They're not committing to a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or whatever subscription. So in this case, we can just go ahead and hit add new one-time order. We'll select our customer John Doe. You can choose pickup or delivery again, like before. So we'll do delivery, and we'll choose the date. You can see there's less information you have to fill in here. So let's say he just wants to get a one-time order on the 27th. And you can select a pickup location if you have them. Instructions can be added as well. We'll go ahead and hit save. And then we're going to go ahead and select the product that he wants. So we'll just go ahead and give him a 1 4-ounce broccoli. Then we hit save. So now this is his one-time order, which works out really good. So now we can see on that date he's going to receive 4 ounces of broccoli. And as everything else, you can click this guy to edit, or you can click that to delete. If we go back to one-time orders, we'll see his actual order. So it says John Doe Inc. We can click this to actually update his customer entry if we wanted to. Has his phone number and his email, the date that he's actually going to receive his order, and if it's delivery or pickup. And if you wanted to add more products or view the products, so this allows you to edit the actual main one-time order. So this will take you back to this form that we filled out initially. I'll go back one screen. If you need to add another product to his order, you can click this guy here, which allows you to add products. So let's give him a 2-ounce broccoli as well. We'll hit save. So now you can see the 2-ounce broccoli and the 4-ounce broccoli are listed. We'll go back to one-time orders. And if I wanted to either delete this order entirely, which will delete all the products that we've added to his order, not the products themselves, but it'll delete the fact that he wanted to get those products, we can do that through the delete, or we can actually view the products that we've already got assigned to his order by clicking on that button, and that shows you both of the two options.
Okay, so now we've got our customers and our orders into FarmFlow. So let's go ahead and start adding some grow mediums, and let's start planting.
All right, back to the getting started guide. We're now at 37%, which is awesome. So now what we're going to do is start getting into actually sowing. So the very first thing we're going to want to do is set up a grow medium. So in this case, we're going to go to seeds and mediums and grow mediums. And I'm going to click on add new grow medium. And this allows you to fill out the manufacturer of the grow medium. So in our case, we always use Fox Farms. Or you can put in ProMix or whoever manufactures the actual soil. Then you can select the medium type. So is it soil? Is it coco coir? Is it hydroponic? Is it compost? Or is it none? So if you use like screens or something like that, you can choose none if you choose to do so, or you can use that for hydroponic as well. So in our case, we're going to choose soil because that's what Fox Farms is. And then if it has a model to it, so like MP Organic for ProMix or Coco Loco for Fox Farms, which is what we use, and then you can select whether that soil is organic or not. Fox Farms Coco Loco, unfortunately, is not organic. And then how much did you pay per bag? So let's say it was $25 for the bag, and how many trays am I roughly getting out of the bag? So let's say I'm getting 28 trays per bag. Now, the reason why this is here, it actually helps you calculate the cost per tray in soil. And you'll see that once we actually start adding sowings to the system. But for now, at least you can put in the price, a rough number of trays per bag. If you don't know this number exactly, just enter it in roughly. You can change this at any time, and it'll recalculate all your costs per tray. So just, at some point, track it just to see how many you get. Do it for a couple bags and see how it works out. All right, so once you got all that information added in, you also have notes if you want to. You can enter in certain notes if there's specific things you need to do with that soil. And if not, you can go ahead and hit save. And you'll see it shows up in the list now. So basically what it's telling me is that I paid $25 for the bag, and because I'm getting 28 trays per bag, it's costing me exactly 89 cents per tray. So it's a pretty cool way to keep track of how much your soil cost is. And this also shows up later on when we actually get into sowing as well. So it'll break it down by not only just soil, but also seed and soil. All right, so now we're at 40% in our getting started guide. And I know this looks like we have a long ways to go, but there's really not that much left that we have to do. That remaining, 50 or so percent is all optional things that you don't have to do, like getting into tasks and inventory, getting into record keeping, sales prospects, team and training, bugs and features. These are things you don't have to do. They're there if you need them, but you don't have to work on them if you don't want to. So don't worry about that part of it. So let's go ahead and start actually planting. So to get started with planting, the very first thing we're going to do is go to our sowing and harvesting menu and click on Sowing Cheat Sheet. And what this does is actually gives you a quick view of all the different products that you have, what your average harvest weight is. And again, we entered this in before, but as you enter sowings into the system, this will automatically get updated. And our harvest days, the number of soaking hours, if there is any, and the seeds that we use per tray. So, and you have the option to actually edit that product. So you can click that, or you can also click the planting instructions, which takes you to a pre-generated page based on your selection. So if you remember back when we were adding the product, we were selecting how we planted it in those different options. So this actually takes you to there and it tells you, okay, we're using a shallow tray. We're spreading the soil, we're misting it, we're spreading 22 grams of seed, we're watering it with water and not H2O2. So if you remember all this stuff from when we set up that product, it's basically building these instructions for you automatically, which is really cool. So then you can also edit the product directly from here as well, or you can add a new broccoli planting right from this screen. So we can click this to add a planting, or if we go back to the sowing cheat sheet, that's what this little plus button is here for. So we can go ahead and click that. Now the very first thing it's going to ask us is how many trays are we planting? So if you're planting more than one, you can certainly enter that here, as long as they're all from the same seed lot. That's very important. So if you're changing seed lots for whatever reason, keep track of how many you planted in the old seed lot and then keep track of how many you planted in the new seed lot. So in this case, we'll just act like we planted all of them from the same seed lot. So we'll go ahead and say that we planted 3 trays of broccoli, and it allows you to select the seed lot options. And if you had more than one lot of broccoli in this list, it would show up. So in this case, it just has the one that we entered in before. Our planting date, it's automatically the default to today, but if for whatever reason you forgot to enter your plantings in yesterday, you can go in and just change this to a different day by selecting that date. We're going to say seeding amount per tray is 22 grams, which is our default, but you can enter this in and change it on the fly. So let's say we decided to do 20 grams in this particular instance, we can do that. If we had any soak time, it would automatically fill this in. Select our growing mediums. In this case, we did Fox Farms Coco Loco. And if there's any notes you wanted for the growing medium, so like you could weigh it out and choose how much you wanted, how you kept it wet throughout the whole process, it's up to you. Just internal notes that you would use to see different things. And then from there, when you're adding, you can pretty much just hit save right away. You don't have to worry about the rest of this stuff because you have harvest details, disposal details, things of that nature. But if you were adding a tray that you already harvested and you know the harvest weight, and you know the harvest date and everything else, you can actually put that right in right away. So in this case, if we had already harvested this tray, we can select the date that we harvested it, and you can choose the harvest weight ounces. So let's say we got 9.8 ounces out of that particular tray. And this is optional. If you have some dead loss and you decide you want to weigh it out to keep track of it, you can enter that in. We don't really worry about it too much, but if you wanted to keep track of that, you can. And if there's any harvesting notes, like that this tray was wet or this tray was moldy or whatever, you can put that kind of information in here as well, just for internal purposes. So you can hit save there if you had a harvested tray. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and set this back down to 0 because I don't want to mark this as a harvested tray. So I'm just going to hit save up here. Okay, so now we have our sowing in the system. You can see it says sowing was created successfully. So now let's get into actually using the harvest to-do list and the sowing to-do list.
All right, now that we've started planting some crops, let's learn how to navigate the sowing to-do list and the harvest to-do list.
All right, so we're back at the getting started guide. You can see we're now at 50% and we're actually done creating what we need to create to use the system at this point. So I know it says we're only 50% of the way there, but that's just other options you have, like choosing a billing plan, creating disposal records, pickup locations, creating tasks, things like that, stuff that's not required to use FarmFlow. So you really only need to do about half of what's on this list in order to get started. So now that we've done everything we need to do to get our sowings in place, let's go ahead and start playing around in the sowing to-do list and the harvest to-do list. So in order to get to those, go to sowing and harvesting. We'll start with the sowing to-do list. All right, we've gone ahead and went to a page that actually requires planting, so you can see kind of what that looks like through the sowing to-do list. So in this case, I chose Wednesday, January 10th, and this is simulating as if today was Wednesday, January 10th. And so it's showing, that we have broccoli that's going to be harvested on January 20th for the orders that we put in earlier. So, and it says we need 44 ounces of broccoli, which based on 10 ounces per tray that we've entered in so far, we need 4.4 trays. So basically we would need 5 total. We planted 3, which is what we had put in the system before, if you recall. So it's in red because it's basically saying we haven't planted enough trays. So we actually need to add 2 more trays in order to be able to make this happy. So essentially you can either click this 1/20/2024 here. In this case, it's going to show me the list of orders that were actually placed on that day, to kind of a general summary, and that takes you into the harvest to-do list, but we're not going to go there yet. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and click this little plus. This is going to allow us to add a broccoli sowing to the system. So by default, it's going to select 5 trays because that's how many we actually need. But in our particular case, we only actually need to add 2 additional trays. So the seed lot is already selected. The plant date is going to be the 10th in this case because that's what we're mocking up here. Seeding amount per tray, 20 grams is what we entered in last time, so it automatically picked that again. So we can change that to 22 if we choose to, or however you want to do it. Soak time is 0. Fox Farms Coco Loco again, automatically selected. And we're going to hit save. And if I go back to Wednesday the 10th, you're going to see that now it's happy because it's got 5 broccolis planted. So now FarmFlow thinks that we planted 5 broccolis on January 10th. So we'll go through the process. So we can go forward on these days here. So you'll see Thursday we don't have to do anything. Friday we don't have to do anything. Saturday, now we've gone through our 3 days of germination with our plants, right, for the broccoli that we planted. So now it's going to tell you need to move these items to the light. So in this case, it doesn't show as blackout because we chose not to black out broccoli. But if you had it set up to blackout broccoli, it would say move to blackout instead of move to light. And then the following day, it would say move to light. So in this case, it's telling you need to move your broccoli to the light today. So that kind of goes through the sowing to-do list. It basically just tells you what you need to plant, what needs to be moved to blackout, what needs to be moved to the light, and that's pretty much it. So it's pretty straightforward. Every single day it's going to be a little bit different, especially if you plant multiple days of the week. But everything in this page is all geared around your actual orders that you have in the system. The purpose of this is to tell you exactly what you need to do to meet those orders, the number of trays you need to plant to meet those orders, and that's all based on your harvest weights. So make sure you're entering in your harvest weights. All right, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead back to January 10th, our simulated planting day, and we're going to go ahead and click on 1/20/2024, which is going to take us to the harvest to-do list for that particular day. You can also go in through the sowing and harvesting option and select harvest to-do list. So you have the option to either click the date that I just showed you, or you can actually just change the calendar date, in this case to the 20th. And you'll see here's our order for John Doe. So it's telling us that we need to harvest these items today, our 5 trays of broccoli, in order to meet these orders. And you can hide these sections if you want to. So we can click these little eyes here and it'll actually hide all those sections. You can unhide them. So if there's something you don't want to look at, you can certainly hide it and get it out of the way if you choose to do so. You can also use these left hand and right hand arrows here to actually navigate one day forward or backwards. Or like we did before, you can just choose this calendar option and select the day of the week that you want to look at. So in this case, we can also minimize this as well, as you saw. So it's telling us we need to harvest our 5 broccoli trays for John Doe's order. So this is all of John Doe's stuff. He got 2 ounces of broccoli times 2 and 4 ounces of broccoli times 10. And what's neat is you can actually click on these items and it will bring up a pop-up list to show you exactly what you need to get or what you need to harvest. So in this case, we need the 2 ounces times 2, 4 ounces times 10, and it tells you who it's for. So if you remember when we set that $4.99 price tag for one of John Doe's pieces, this is actually where this comes into play. It's telling you that you need to set these 2 2-ounce packs to say $4.99 instead of your regular $6 in our case. So kind of cool. So then all you have to do is once you're done harvesting, click OK. Brings you back to this screen and you'll see now that those items are actually highlighted. So you can check them off as complete. So once I check these items off, it's going to unhighlight them. And if I were to click on broccoli again, you'll see everything is all has a little line through it telling you basically that it's already done. So it will highlight them again. It's the only downside. So you can uncheck them and highlight them, or you can just refresh the page and that'll go away. And in this case, we can click on delivery addresses. I'm not going to do that because it's going to open in an external window, but it will take you to Google Maps with all of the delivery addresses that you have on that map setup. So you can shift things around if you have to and set that all up. One thing you can do external of that is go through customers and orders and go to deliveries. And this page actually allows you to shift things up and down to actually set up the order of which your deliveries are done. So when you click delivery addresses, it'll automatically put them in the order that you specified so you can get the ideal route. That's a really great way to create a really quick delivery route that's efficient. So down below, you're going to have sowing and harvesting summary. If we had clicked that date from the sowing to-do list page, this is actually where it would have taken us, right to this section to show us how much broccoli we need. It tells you how many ounces you need, the number of trays that you need, and the number that you've already planted. And what's cool is because it knows what your average harvest weight is, it can estimate roughly how much you're going to have left as well. So if you had a chef reach out and say, hey, I need 2 ounces of broccoli, can you do it for me this week? You can look at that and see you've got 6 ounces left over. So you should easily be able to fill that order. So it'll tell you how many total pounds you're doing, what your number of trays are in total. This is, of course, if you had other options listed, how many you planted, and how many pounds roughly you should have left over. So now at the bottom here, you have your packing summary. I'm going to go ahead and hide these and make it easier to look at here. So you've got your packing summary, and this is basically telling you, okay, I need 2 ounces of broccoli times 2. I need 4 ounces of broccoli times 10. So it's an easy way to grab the packaging that you need to quickly package up what you need. And then you can also check these as well. And even if you refresh the page, which I'll go ahead and do, these items will remain checked. So as things are checked off here, it'll check them automatically, and they'll remain checked, and these guys as well. And if you're using more than one view, so let's say you had multiple tablets on your farm, once these boxes are checked, it'll automatically check those boxes on other tablets as well, which is really cool. So you don't have to refresh the page or anything, so that way nobody's accidentally working on the same thing in two different places. So it kind of helps keep your employees moving forward. So that's the harvest to-do list.
Okay, congratulations. You've officially finished creating all the stuff that you need for FarmFlow to start using it regularly. We've set up your user profile and your preferences. We've added products, categories, and pricing. We've added seeds and seed suppliers. We've set up customers and orders. We've set up grow mediums. We've added some plants. And we've learned how to navigate the sowing to do list and the harvest to do list. So here's some optional steps you can choose to do right away. You can wait to do these later. This is going to be setting up your billing plan and your referral link so you can make money on FarmFlow.
All right, back to the getting started guide. This is an optional thing that you can do, setting up your billing plan and setting up your referral link. So what's really neat is you can choose your billing plan anytime you want within your 30-day trial. If you choose not to use FarmFlow and continue with it, just let it expire and it'll automatically disable your account. If you choose to continue with it, then you want to select your billing plan before the end of your 30 days. You will not get charged until the 30 days. So you won't receive an invoice until the end of your entire 30-day trial. We want to make sure you get it, to take advantage of that entire time. So you don't have to worry about it until the very last minute. And it will send you emails with, warnings telling you, hey, you might want to do this. You got 7 days in, you're 14 days in, things like that to help kind of remind you to get that set up so you don't accidentally lose access to the system. And even if you do, you can come back at any time, log in, and select a billing plan. It'll put you right back on track. So in order to set up your billing plan, you can go to Profile and Preferences and select Billing. And then this gives you the option, and make sure you read what's up here for sure, because Square is a little bit weird. That's what we use to handle our billing. Once you choose a billing plan, you have yearly or monthly, you can't change it until the first time you've been charged. So if you choose yearly, you won't be able to modify it after the fact. So you'll pay your first time, and then you'll be stuck on that plan for the entire year. So if you choose yearly, make sure it's what you want. It's obviously the best option because you save the most money. It saves you whatever that is in difference per year, which is cool. So it's a little bit of a discount. You won't be able to change it until you make your first payment. So if you choose monthly initially and then you say, oh man, you know what, I should have chose yearly, you'll have to wait until the end of your first month. Once you make your first payment, then you can actually change it to yearly after that. And then from that point forward, it'll be yearly, which is cool. So just select one of these options, hit save, doesn't matter which one, it's totally up to you. And then if you have invoices, once your invoices start actually rolling out from Square, they'll automatically show up down at the bottom here. And you can click on the actions over here to actually view the invoice and pay it online. And most people just save their credit card to file. It makes things really easy. That way it gets paid automatically every month or every year, depending on what you want to do. So the last option we're going to talk about here is setting up your referral link. So if you choose to continue with FarmFlow and you set up your billing plan, and you use it on a regular basis, then you can actually send out referral links to people to actually earn money towards helping you pay for your account. So again, under Profile and Preferences, you can go to Referrals. And what this does is it actually allows you to set up a referral code. So this is my URL right now. It's automatically assigned to me by FarmFlow when I sign up for my account. But obviously this is kind of a messed up little jumble of letters and numbers. So I want to change this to something else. So I could do my referral code of Andy Musaw. And I can hit save. And then that's going to bring me back. And then this is now my new referral link. So if I send this link out to people, or if I post it into Facebook groups or on Instagram or things like that, and people click this link, it will actually give me credit for signing this person up, which is cool. And the nice thing is you get 20 bucks for every single referral, which is cool. So, and once they make their first payment, that's when you get paid. So they have to obviously, do their 30-day trial and commit to using it. And once they do and they make their first payment, you get more money than I do, which is kind of nice. So you get $20 as a one-time payment for getting them set up. And what's cool is underneath of payout options, you've got the option to get paid via PayPal, via Venmo, via Cash App. You just enter in whatever it is that you want to enter in. Then you can hit save on that information. And then as people actually sign up with your referral link, you'll see them down below here. It'll have their first name and their last name initial when they signed up, and if they've chosen a billing plan or not, it'll actually show that down here as well. So you get at least an idea of whether they're moving forward or not, which is kind of neat. So it gives you the ability to be able to track everything. So really great way to earn some money. I mean, you really only have to sign up one person per month, and FarmFlow is basically free for you, which is cool. So uh, just a great option.